Peace. This is Jamal Robinson with 720astrology.com. Today's date is March 8th, 2024. And at the time of recording this, it's 10:14 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is just a quick check-in to talk about the condition of Mercury. Now, I already referenced Mercury and mentioned Mercury in the new moon video that was released a few days prior to this one. But Mercury is in a peculiar situation, and I thought it was worth devoting some more attention to. We're going to pull up the real-time clock and take a look at how Mercury has been moving from the 6th of March and how it will continue to move until the 10th of March, which is again the day of the new moon. What we're looking at is Mercury's conjunction with Neptune. Now, Neptune is the sea, it's the lord of the sea, but Neptune is similar to Pluto, as in Pluto being the lord of the earth or underworld. One thing we always have to keep in mind with Neptune is that in addition to him being lord of the sea, he's lord of the undersea. There's a whole world that exists that we know nothing about. There's a whole varied, complex, and unique set of ecosystems that all overlap beneath the sea level, a world that exists undetected and unknown to us, unseen. There are creatures that still have not been discovered, have not been labeled, that live under the sea. And with with Mercury making contact with this energy, it can produce the following: confusion, being lost, feeling unclear, perplexed, disoriented, bewildered, distracted, emotional, hormonal. Now, that's a lot. I want to start at the latter, hormonal. Now, we don't always hear that mentioned with Mercury, even when it's aspecting Neptune. If you think about it, what are hormones? They are chemical messages that travel through our blood. What planet in astrology rules hormones? The messenger god, Mercury. And so when you have Mercury, who is now dipped in a mutable pool of water, which is Pisces, this is a more emotional and hormonal time because the messenger god is in a very compromised state, a position that he does not like to be in. But I had an epiphany the other day. The plants we have in our house, how we know they help to cleanse the air. But for those plants to grow, they need water, they need sunlight, and they need to be planted in good soil. We just covered all four elements in the zodiac, the astrological wheel. The air is purified with the more plants you have in your home. The air we breathe outside is purified and enhanced by the greenery, by the trees. For those trees to grow, they need to be planted in good soil. That's the earth element. And that soil needs moisture. There's water. There are the emotions. And it needs the spark of life, of vitality, which is the sun, fire in the chart. So all of these experiences, all of these expressions, all of these elements are necessary to form a complete and whole living experience. So even though Mercury is in a position that it does not like to be in, it's in detriment, it's in exile in Pisces, there is still great value to be gleaned and to be realized through its transit. Because again, Mercury traveling through the air still needs to remain in contact with water. It can never go so far or to extend out to the point where it loses touch with water. So as it moves throughout the zodiac, It's going to be drenched in water 3 times in Cancer, in Scorpio, and in Pisces. And it's not particularly fun in either of those signs, but it's a necessity because the hyper rational aspect of Mercury, the childlike trickster aspect of Mercury, the conservative, intellectual, all of those need emotion to balance it out. And so while Mercury is completing its transit in Pisces, our minds have an opportunity to explore the collective mind that makes up this fishbowl we're living in. It gives us an opportunity to explore the nature of we, which is a collection of a whole bunch of I's and me's. What is the nature of those components that are dissolved into this greater pool? What are the inner working components of the undersea? What are some of the things that are coming out about human nature as a collective right now with Mercury's transit in Pisces? Remember, it's easier to explore the hidden realms of the earth than it is to explore the hidden realms of the sea because the water pulls you in and it is overwhelming. And then there is the uncertainty about as you dive deeper, what you may encounter. There's a lot of toxicity, especially on the internet right now. Celebrities are at war, supposedly, and everybody's got a beef. And there's all types of gossip. Gossip is a word associated with Neptune and Pisces. Toxic communication. That's a Mercurial and Neptunian reflection. Toxic communication, toxic conversations, which makes you wonder if there's a nefarious force that would like this aspect of humanity to be highlighted right now. And maybe the celebrity who will do anything just to maintain that third row seat at the Staples Center, if that's where they still play, or to actually be courtside at MSG, or to be in the box at the Super Bowl. Maybe they'll do anything to maintain that lifestyle or to finally reach it or to regain it because they remember when they had it. And so they'll do anything to help sway and manipulate and drown the minds of the public just so they can get a new biscuit or a new piece of thread or some new sheetrock. Things to think about with Mercury's transit in Pisces. Before I pull up this chart, I want to talk about some incidents that happened with me this week. I discovered, well, I've been noticing some little leaks coming from my truck. And so I saw a larger puddle, if you will, under my truck the other day. And consistently it was showing up. So I called my mechanic, go out. He takes a look. He sees where the main pulley, it looks like there's this white kind of coating, which gives him a clue that the water pump is leaking, which made sense based on where I saw the spot on the ground. It also showed me where there's a little antifreeze leaking out of the radiator. So now I need a new radiator and I need a new water pump. And this is all occurring while Mercury is in range of Neptune. So the radiator, just to show you how literal sometimes astrology can be, the radiator disperses a mix of antifreeze and water, also releasing some of the engine's heat while taking in cool air. Listen to this word, disperses, a mix. That's one of the things, those two words are Neptunian. For something to be dispersed, then it has to be broken down. Neptune and Pisces, the sign that it co-rules with Jupiter, Neptune breaks things down. It dissolves things. It's a solvent. Things have to be broken down before they can be dispersed. Because Neptune is the vastness of the sea or the ocean, I use those two interchangeably for these purposes. Then it also is the great mixing bowl. What better way to mix things than with liquid? The water pump, that's a obvious. Water pump. The water pump continually circulates coolant from the radiator to the vehicle's engine block. The water pump continues the work of the radiator. So here's a literal expression of Mercury conjunct Neptune, because Mercury can also deal with mechanical things. It deals with cars. So here we have Mercury conjunct Neptune. Find out I need a new radiator, new water pump. My mother mailed my son his birthday gifts at the end of February. He's a Pisces. They have not made it yet. She's been distraught. She's a Virgo. So this has really just messed her up, because she's great about, if she knows someone's special day is coming up, she wants to be perfect. She wants to have things in order. She wants to make sure she gets to the post office in time so that your gift and your card arrives on time. If it doesn't, she is distraught. So she's been depressed because the package got lost. She filed a claim. They told her they'd look for it. And I said, okay, Mom, I said, I think around the 10th, I think things will start to clear up. I said, I have hope they're going to find it. She forwards me an email that she received this morning where they finally found the package, got tracking on it. And now it's in transit to be delivered. But Mercury is associated with mail. And so here we have Mercury in detriment in Pisces, and the mail gets all screwed up. When I went to visit my mechanic, as I was leaving, I'm backing up. I had just texted my wife to let her know to coordinate a time where she can follow me out there and I can drop the truck off to be worked on. So my mind is all on that. And I take pride in being a safe, conscientious driver. Guess what I do? I'm backing up and I back into a pole where they have a partition for that houses the dumpster. All of a sudden, I hear the alarm going off, boom, 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 and before I can react, bam! So now the cover for my tow hitch on the truck is dented up, and now it's got to be. I need to replace it and paint it, and I'm just like on top of. I got to spend out probably close to $800 to get this truck fixed. Now I back up and damage my truck. Now, it's not major damage, but it's damage. And it hurt my pride more than anything. Here I am backing up and hit something. So here's the fender bender. Why? Because I was distracted. And this is one of the biggest things that are happening right now with Mercury and Pisces. People are distracted to different levels. Today, I went out to pick up the vehicle, and my wife followed me out there. We pick it up. As we're leaving, we see that there's been an accident when we get out on the main road. And one of the guys gets out and throws his door open to get out. No regard for, like, there's still traffic going around, you fool. And so there are pieces of headlight and grill and all over the road. People are in the left-hand lane and they're just driving 5 miles under the speed limit. And you get by them, and I'm notorious for passing people and giving them the look of death. And I look over there, and the person's just the look on people's faces as if they're completely lost. And so this is Mercury in Pisces conjunct Neptune. It's a really hard time. It can be a difficult time collectively to focus and to zero in, dial in on things. But it's exponentially harder for people who don't live their life consciously, who just fly by the seat of their pants, and who don't pay attention to detail, people who aren't introspective, people who eat bad food. Like, you think about your stomach is considered to be your second brain, or arguably your first. And, my mechanic is in the hood. So, of course, this is food desert central. But you got gas stations, you got Popeyes, you got McDonald's. I mean, they don't even have a Chick-fil-A over there. They're giving you the Taco Bells, the Taco Bueno, and then some mom and pop, something taco this. So this is the worst of the worst. And you can literally see the effects, even at the most rudimentary level of bad food, of how it affects people. It makes you more aggressive. It makes you less attentive. It makes you more delusional, depressed, hopeless. Food, Mercury rules the gut, the digestive system when it's in Virgo. So we got a lot, it's so many things to think about that as a collective that's impacting us if we allow ourselves to get completely caught up and don't live life without purpose and direction. Even if you're living with purpose and direction, you can still get caught up. But if you don't have any direction on any day of the week, any month of the year, oh boy, this can really be bad news. But still, I had to take a moment, even when I backed up into that pole, I had to remind myself, hey man, this happened while you were in the parking lot. I wasn't on the highway. I'm alive. Car's not totaled. It's small potato, small fry. Then today, as we pick up the truck, had to be reminded, hey, had the money to get the truck fixed. It's done. I took the slow way home because it was in 5 o'clock traffic. I took the back roads to try to avoid the fools, and we just took our time. So there's necessity in this when energy is difficult, especially with the mind, to be reflective, to try to steal away and to reset, allow yourself to reset and to just walk away from something, put it down. This Mercury and Pisces energy and conjunct Neptune is like sometimes you just gotta just put something down and don't force it. Here's an example of me forcing something. I did the video on the new moon. The video I put up was the raw video. I had edited down like 7 minutes off that video and then go and load all that work editing. And then I go and put the raw video up. Now, if that ain't Mercury and Pisces, and I was so pissed because I'm thinking, one, it's like I just wasted time. And then two, the fact that I was careless enough to load the wrong video. It's like I don't even remember being that disconnected or absent from what I was doing. And I'm a detailed person. So, but I was pushing, trying to get that video edited. Like I was all irritated and trying to rushing, pushing. And look, so sometimes with energy like this, you just kind of have to let things be for the moment and let things run their course, step back. But at the same time, you got to be careful and methodical about your movements because you can really make mistakes very easily with this energy. My children have been off the chain. Now, my children are well behaved in public. So they're not like children we see. We go to Taekwondo and we see children throwing fits just so I'm thankful we don't have any of those, but they have a lot of sense, very smart. So they're very comfortable at home. So they let their true nature they're relaxed. So they argue and fight and fuss and it's been difficult getting them going in the morning. And I'm trying to rush and get out the house, get them to school on time. And they've just been difficult. My oldest two daughters from my first marriage, I talked to them today, and they're telling me about Jazz. She's a Pisces too. She's like, I forgot to tell someone asked me something to tell coach, and I was right there talking to her. And Jasmine's already absent-minded anyway. But she's like, but it's worse now this week. So, and all my children are mutable. I have two Pisces, a Gemini, and a Sagittarius. So, and I lack a great deal of mutable energy in my chart. So I have four mutable children to help teach me about how to adapt and change. So my mutable children have been mutating. They've been mutable. So I'm learning through all of this, learning more patience, learning how to be more adaptive, more flexible. Okay, this didn't work out. Okay, I'm just going to have to do this that way. We got open house. We got somebody's birthday party tomorrow. That's why I'm up doing this at night. Adaptation. Another key thing with Mercury and Pisces, being able to adapt, flexible, not trying to force something that cannot be made into how we want it at the moment. in the manner we think it should be, not applying so much force, which then creates more resistance, trying to figure out how to be in flow. All right. So with that said, maybe I can now finally pull up the chart. We see on March 6th that Mercury was at 24 of Pisces and Neptune at 26 of Pisces. So this is where we kind of really, matter of fact, yeah, this is where things start to get a little wonky. And this energy basically at its height, it's going to persist until the 10th, because on the 10th, Mercury will be at, earlier in the day, it's going to be at 0 of Aries, still in the 3-degree range to Neptune. But by the evening, it starts to pick up speed and separate. And so the real intensity of this transit, this conjunction, is between the 6th and the 10th. So this morning, the conjunction between Neptune and Mercury was partile. That was around 8:48 this morning. It was raining like crazy. We had to go and drop the children off at school and then drive out in this crazy traffic to the mechanic, go and drop off the truck before we went and worked out. And this was when we could really see this transit at its peak, because it's raining and people are driving like maniacs. Either they're driving like maniacs or they're completely in a daze. So we have felt the brunt of this transit, and now Mercury is starting to separate, but we're still feeling this aspect again up until the 10th. And that's when Mercury will make its ingress in Aries, and it will start kind of separating from Neptune. But here's the thing to keep in mind. Mercury made its ingress into Pisces on February 23rd. And that transit is from the 23rd of February until the 9th of March. Then in April, on April 2nd, Mercury will move retrograde, and will be in its retrograde phase from the 2nd until the 25th of April. In essence, Mercury has been in retrograde symbolically, or how it has felt, since February. To me, when Mercury is in Pisces, it's like Mercury retrograde. Pound for pound, when you get down to the brass tacks, the debilitated Mercury in Pisces is, to me, like an extension of retrograde. So to me, we're living through Mercury retrograde from late February until the late April. That's 2 months of Mercury catching hell. So with that in mind, it's probably best to be very cautious right now. Basically, the beginning of this year, being cautious about entering into making any big decisions, signing contracts, dealing with your financial books, communicating any big time message. This is a time to be careful about that, to utilize extra discretion and caution because of the condition of Mercury. And in addition to that, on the 12th, Mercury is going to be in a semi-square to Uranus. So this can have us thinking before speaking before we think, especially given the fact that Mercury has been in this struggle with his head dipped way down underwater, and now it's kind of like wanting to break out and catch up and break free. We got to be careful with that energy, especially around the 12th. Let's just say from the 12th through the 15th, because on the 12th, Mercury is in a semi-square. Let me move the chart to show you. We see on the 12th, here's Mercury and here's Uranus. If we move the clock back a little bit, we'll see where Mercury is at 4 degrees earlier in the day. It'll be at 4 degrees of Aries. And at that point, it's exactly semi-square Uranus. So this is where maybe we should have bit our tongue, but we didn't. Maybe we were a little impatient and said something out of turn, and could cause some issues. Then when we move forward, let's see, 22, 30, 38, Mercury is already kind of starting to pick up this semi-square with Mars, but that is partile on the 15th. Let's see. So there's Mars at 24 of Aquarius, and Mercury is at 10 of Aries. So basically, earlier in that day, they'll be partile, or the aspect will be partile, this semi-square right here. So a sharpness of the tongue that cuts, and then also impatient. And these two can be quite similar. This impatience, this sharpness, and now we're saying things out of turn, out of place, things that might cut that we can't take back. Our mind is very action oriented, especially given the fact that Mercury has been debilitated. So Mercury may, so I'm mentally, I'm already feeling this like I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's go. This can be troublesome. This can be jumping the gun. And that's a big theme here early in the year is not jumping the gun. And we talked about that, especially with the new moon energy, because in addition to Mercury being sandwiched, we still have Mars and Uranus in a square to each other. So there's a lot of angst in the air around this time of the year, and we're trying to make it to the vernal equinox. We're not trying to blow it right here before the vernal equinox when the year actually kicks off and gets started. Now, while Mercury is going through all this is why we want to be careful right now. Careful about decisions we're making, taking our time, dotting our I's and crossing our T's, and making sure we're not rushing into anything. We know we got a lot coming up. Like this year is just dynamic, because you got all this going on, and then boom, early April, we got the eclipse. No, well, late March, we have our first eclipse, lunar eclipse. Then we have the big solar eclipse early April. Then later on in the year or the next month in May, this is when we'll be forced to take some type of action because Mercury will be in a first quarter square to Pluto. I'm not gonna pull that up on here. So let me stop. Yeah, Mercury will will form its first quarter square with Pluto. Remember, they were conjunct back in February. Also, Venus will form a first quarter square to Pluto. And I'll come back and talk about those, the significance. But when we have a square, it forces us into some type of action. And so Mercury has been fighting to be Mercury to move. Mercury's known for his speed. In Pisces, one of the reasons there's a struggle is because it's hard to run underwater. It's hard to fly underwater, and that affects the mental processes. Well, when Mercury gets out that water, he wants to make up for lost time, pick up speed. And that can be the energy that has us jumping the gun. May will be the month when Mercury speed will be called upon because we'll be forced to make some decisions starting around May. That's just a quick energy check-in about the happenings around Mercury's transit in Pisces in conjunction with Neptune. To close, let's be mindful that with all those things I talked about, bewildered and confused, lost, unsure, unclear, distracted, that the contact between Mercury and Neptune can also be very creative. And it can also be a fusion of the mind with the God mind, so that it gives us the ability to tap into things that aren't always as readily available or recognized by us. It's always available. Maybe we're not always able to receive it, to acknowledge it, to fuse with it. So this may be a time to explore your creativity and whatever ideas, to not be in a rush to get them into the manufacturer and get them out to the public or whatever, but to let the ideas cultivate, let them simmer, and to be tinkering with them and working on them and seeing what other little facets you can add in, so that when it's time to launch, you're ready. For private readings, I'm available through my website, 720astrology.com. Know the stars to know yourself. Peace.